Our next speaker is Eugene McCartan. He doesn't need an introduction, General Secretary of the Irish Party, but there are amazing struggles that have taken place in Ireland in the past, and hopefully there will be in the future. And Eugene is the man who has been, certainly in the struggle against the referendum, was one of the leading spirits in Ireland's rejection of the EU Lisbon Treaty. So, Eugene, you speak with authority, and you're going to put us right on what we should be doing on the issue of the EU, I expect, as well.
Well, Comrades, I would not go as far as John's glowing introduction. First of all, on behalf of the Communist Party, it's difficult in the sense I was to give the fraternal or solidarity greetings sometime tomorrow, so I'll try to not cross over some of the things I was trying to say, and maybe tomorrow engage more in what we're doing practically in our situation. But certainly this Congress and the celebration of the 90th anniversary of the Communist Party of Britain shows that the case for communism is still valid today as it was 90 years ago. The nations and peoples of these islands have and are experiencing a sustained assault on their hard-won gains made by working people over many decades. The growing and deepening global crisis of monopoly capitalism has shattered the illusions that capitalism has succeeded in overcoming its inherent contradictions of slump and boom. So carefully manufactured and constructed by its apologists and establishment politicians, corporate media, research institutions funded and sustained by monopoly capitalism itself. What we are experiencing, not just in Ireland, but has similar features across the globe, is a generalised offensive against the terms and conditions of working people being carried on and sustained by monopoly capitalism. The specific features in Ireland have been this. The Irish government delivered a bank guarantee scheme, which means the Irish state has taken guarantees all bank debts, both national and global, on deposits of 6 Irish banking and financial institutions. The government set up an organisation called NAMA, which has taken into public ownership speculative assets incurred by Irish property speculators and developers. This means that the Irish people have been forced to take responsibility for speculative investments in properties from Dublin to Shanghai, coming to the region of €55 billion. Irish sovereign debt will most likely reach 100 billion within the next 2 years for a population of just over 4.5 million people. The imposition of increased indirect taxes, levies on public sector pensions of up to 10%, massive cuts in public spending, a softening up of the public opinion for a fire sale of public companies, further privatisation of public services. Over 200,000 people have been forced to immigrate in the last 2 years. The slogan used by the Irish establishment is sharing the pain, that we are all in this together, that we must all carry this heavy burden so generously dumped upon the backs of working people, family farmers, the self-employed, the unemployed, the old, the sick, by the European Union on behalf of the German and French bankers and international finance houses. Working people must be patriotic is our cry in our country's hour of need. What we are experiencing is an unprecedented transfer of wealth from working people, from the broader sections of people, to the rich and to the global finance houses. The Irish government is planning to cut anything from 4 to 5 billion euros in the forthcoming budget in December, and the same again over the next 2 to 3 years. Of course, it will not be the rich that will pay. Their numbers have grown in 2009 and is a reflection of the growing concentration of wealth. No, it will be the unemployed, now standing at 440,000 people. It will be the tens of thousands who will be forced to leave the country looking for work. It will be the small businesses and the self-employed. It will be the old, the sick, the children. It will be the women who head up households in marginalised and socially deprived communities. The EU has seized the opportunity of the crisis to push forward key strategic goals contained within the Lisbon Treaty. They now have control over national budgets, thereby determining the political, economic and social policies of the Member States. All national budgets must be presented to the Commission, EU Commission, before the national parliaments have had any opportunity to discuss it. The EU is now micromanaging the Irish budget, the Irish budgets. National bourgeois democracy is being hollowed out. They're informed but devoid of any significant content by the EU in the interest of monopoly finance capital. Global finance houses recently demanded, as did the European Union, that all Irish political parties that make up or will make up any future government all commit themselves to the current budgetary strategy. This is to lock current and future governments into a strategy that prioritises the Irish people must pay for the reckless borrowing made by Irish banks from international finance houses and to the bank shareholders. This is finance capital attempting to subvert in a very public way the democratic will of the people. The response to the trade union movement has been very weak in the Republic, while in the north of Ireland last week one of the largest demonstrations by thousands of workers was held in Belfast against the cuts. It was a very clear example of what is possible when working people are given clear and alternatives and presented with and understand what they need to be fighting for. This has put greater pressure upon the parties that make up the executive in the north. Here, our party played a significant role in building the successful mobilisation across the north of Ireland. In the Republic, decades of social partnership has corroded and blunted the capacity and willingness of trade union movement to mobilise their members. Key leadership elements still cling to the failed belief that they sit quietly in the corner, that the government and the bosses will not notice them, thereby not attack them. They have called demonstrations and mobilisations, and at the last minute have either cancelled or postponed them, creating an atmosphere of hopelessness and despondency. The crisis has also exposed the fact that Irish social democracy has little stomach for a fight and has no alternative economic and social policies to those being imposed by the European Union. Yet across the country resistance is taking place. Thousands of people have been marching and campaigning against closures of local hospitals and services. Pensioners have mobilised in their thousands against attacks on their pensions. Some public sector workers like teachers organised many protests against both attacks on their terms and conditions and cuts in the educational budgets. The anger of the people is palpable, yet at this time lacks a clear direction or focus, with the Labour Party hoping to channel the people's anger into the political support at the next general election and drawing that anger into the quicksand of parliamentary elections and pompous and vacuous parliamentary debates. Working people have yet to understand that the ruling elites are using state power as an instrument to prosecute class struggle. Comrades, this crisis has exposed the deep contradictions lying at the very heart of the capitalist system. It has exposed as never before the class nature of state power, the class and imperialist character of the European Union. That imperial is not and cannot overcome its deep and inherent contradictions, not alone do we face the challenge of mobilising workers to defend themselves, but the challenge of saving our planet has not gone away but has become more urgent with each passing day. Our task as communists and as anti-imperialists is both to defend the gains that workers have struggled for and won, but also to present a clear alternative that has the potential to mount a counter-offensive that shifts the balance of forces in favour of working people, which will open up the political ground for a challenge for political state power by the working class. Thank you, Comrades.
Thank you, Eugene, and I think we can take a few cues from some of the things that you're doing.